The void between stars held many secrets, but none quite like this. The Coalition survey vessel Starseeker drifted through the edges of the Perseus Arm, its sophisticated sensors probing the darkness for anomalies. Captain Naira Valthor, her iridescent scales shifting with concentration, studied the unusual readings that had drawn them to this unremarkable sector of space. "Another scan, Officer Zen," she ordered, her translator conveying the complex harmonics of her native tongue into standard Coalition speech. The ship's sensor officer, a crystalline being from the silicon-based Arxer species, complied immediately. "Readings unchanged, Captain. The quantum displacement continues to grow in intensity. Whatever it is, it's unlike anything in our database." Dr. Sarah Chen, the ship's human science officer, looked up from her station with barely contained excitement. The only human aboard the Starseeker, she represented Earth's interests in the Coalition's deep space exploration program. "Captain, these energy signatures, they're similar to theoretical models of temporal displacement. We might be witnessing a breach in space-time." Before Captain Valthor could respond, the void before them began to ripple like the surface of a disturbed pond. Stars seemed to bend and twist around a growing distortion that pulled at the fabric of reality itself. The Starseeker's proximity alarms blared as its safety systems detected the mounting gravimetric disturbance. "All stations, emergency protocols," Valthor commanded, her scales now pulsing with alert patterns. "Maintain safe distance, but keep sensors locked on the anomaly." The distortion continued to grow, its edges crystallizing into a perfect sphere of absolute darkness. Then, without warning, the sphere shattered like glass, revealing something that made every crew member freeze in astonishment. A massive vessel emerged from the rift, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. The ship dwarfed the Starseeker, its design unlike anything in current Coalition records. Angular plates of dark metal absorbed rather than reflected light, and strange patterns of energy coursed beneath its surface like digital rivers. By the first light, Officer Zen whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with shock. "The vessel's dimensions exceed Coalition military restrictions by orders of magnitude." Dr. Chen had gone pale, her hands trembling as she accessed the ship's database. That's impossible. "Captain, I'm reading human manufacturing signatures, but the technology is beyond anything we've ever developed. The hull material alone." "Getting identification markers," Officer Zen interrupted. "The vessel's name is becoming visible as systems reactivate. EDS Avalon. EDS, Earth Defense Ship." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Earth Defense Fleet had been dissolved centuries ago when humanity joined the Coalition. This ship was a relic of that era, but it appeared factory new, its hull unmarked by time or space. "Dr. Chen," Captain Valthor said carefully, "what do your Earth historical records say about this vessel?" "Nothing," Chen replied, her voice barely a whisper. "The EDS Avalon doesn't exist in any database. It's as if—" She paused, checking readings again. "Captain, the quantum dating puts this ship's construction at over 300 years ago, but the temporal signature suggests it's experienced less than a day of actual time. The Avalon hung motionless in space, its running lights slowly blinking to life in sequence. Each illuminated section revealed weapon systems and technological innovations that made modern Coalition warships look primitive by comparison. Multiple power signatures detecting," Officer Zen reported. "The vessel's systems are activating in a predetermined sequence. Captain, it's broadcasting." A message appeared in the space between the ships, projected in every known Coalition language. "Timeline convergence confirmed. Awaiting authorized personnel for initialization sequence. The clock starts now." Captain Valthor's scales shifted to a deep blue of concern. In all her years of exploration, she had never encountered anything like this. A human warship, lost to time itself, had chosen this moment to return. The question was, why? "Dr. Chen, begin composition of an emergency report to Coalition Command and Earth's government," she ordered. Officer Zen, maintain our position and continue scans. Whatever this vessel is, whatever brought it here, I suspect this is only the beginning of a much larger story. As if in response to her words, the Avalon's massive hull shimmered with patterns of light, its systems continuing to awaken from their centuries-long slumber. The ship hadn't just survived its journey through time. It had been preserved, protected, and prepared for this exact moment. Now, as representatives of humanity's present faced this ghost from their past, one thing became clear. The EDA's Avalon carried secrets that would shake the foundations of the Coalition itself. The Coalition investigation team moved through the Avalon's cavernous corridors with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Dr. Sarah Chen led the human contingent, her footsteps echoing against metal floors that somehow remained pristine after centuries of temporal displacement. Behind her, a team of the galaxy's finest xenotechnologists examined every surface, with increasingly bewildered expressions. "These readings defy explanation," muttered Chief Engineer Krax, his insectoid mandibles clicking rapidly. The Arxian engineer's compound eyes reflected the soft blue glow of the ship's internal lighting. "The molecular structure of these materials shows no degradation. None." Sarah ran her hand along a wall panel, feeling the subtle vibration beneath her fingers. "The ship's still alive," she whispered. "All systems maintained in perfect stasis, waiting." Her hand found a control panel, and the interface sprang to life at her touch, holographic displays materializing in the air. "Genetic verification required," announced an artificial voice, startling the investigation team. Sarah hesitated only a moment before pressing her palm against the scanner. The system hummed, analyzing her DNA structure. "Partial access granted. Genetic markers indicate familial connection to Project Director Chen Weiling. Security protocols remain in effect." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Chen Weiling? That's impossible. She's my great-grandmother. She disappeared during the Quantum Wars, 3 centuries ago." The holographic display shifted, revealing a recording of a woman whose features mirrored Sarah's own. The timestamp marked it as having been recorded exactly 312 years earlier. "To whoever carries our bloodline," the recording began, "if you're seeing this, the Avalon has successfully completed its temporal journey. You're probably wondering why we sent our most advanced warship through time itself. The answer is both simple and terrifying. We saw something coming, something that threatened not just humanity, but all sentient life." Krax moved closer, his sensors detecting unusual energy patterns in the ship's quantum core. "Dr. Chen, these power readings, they're exponentially beyond anything in current Coalition technology. This ship wasn't just built for war. It's carrying enough energy to tear apart a solar system." The recording continued, Weiling's expression growing grave. "We couldn't fight it in our time. We lacked the understanding, the unity, the technology. But we could prepare. The Avalon isn't just a warship. It's humanity's gift to the future. A weapon, yes, but also a repository of everything we learned about the threat. The ship's AI contains the sum total of human scientific advancement from our era, including discoveries we knew would be too dangerous to leave in our own time." Sarah accessed another terminal, and massive engineering schematics filled the air around them. The Coalition scientists fell silent as they studied designs that redefined their understanding of physics. Quantum manipulation engines, temporal stabilization fields, weapons that could alter the fabric of space-time itself. The Avalon was centuries beyond anything they had imagined possible. "Your ancestors weren't just brilliant," Krax said softly, his usual scientific detachment giving way to awe. "They were prescient. They built this ship not for their time, but for ours. The question is, what did they see coming that required such extraordinary measures?" Before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The holographic displays flickered, and Weiling's recording was replaced by a cascade of data streams. The ship's eye was awakening, processing centuries of accumulated astronomical data. "Warning, announced the ship's computer. Temporal convergence parameters met. Stage 2 initialization commencing. The following message is classified level Omega. They're almost here. The investigation team exchanged worried glances as emergency lighting bathed the corridor in red. Throughout the massive vessel, systems that had slumbered for centuries hummed to life, preparing for a conflict that had been centuries in the making. Sarah stared at the streams of data, her mind racing. Her great-grandmother and the other builders of the Avalon hadn't just sent a warship through time. They'd created a temporal fortress, armed with technology that could reshape the galaxy. Now, as ancient weapons powered up and long-dormant AIs stirred to consciousness, she realized they were standing at a crossroads of history. "Send word to Coalition Command," she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Tell them we're going to need every expert they can spare." The Avalon wasn't just waiting for the right time. It was waiting for the right people. And whatever threat my ancestors saw coming, I think we're about to face it together. As if in response, the ship's quantum core pulsed with ethereal light, its energy readings climbing toward levels that shouldn't have been possible. The Avalon was awake, and with it the greatest technological revolution in Coalition history had begun. But as Sarah studied the warning messages streaming across the displays, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much darker revelation. The Avalon's command center buzzed with activity as Coalition scientists and military observers watched Dr. Sarah Chen work. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, decrypting layers of data that her great-grandmother had hidden within the ship's quantum memory banks. Behind her, Admiral Voss of the Coalition Defense Force waited with uncharacteristic patience, his cybernetic eyes tracking every new revelation. "The encryption is incredible," Sarah muttered, more to herself than the others. "They didn't just encode this data. They quantum-locked it to specific temporal coordinates. We literally couldn't have accessed this information before now." The main view screen erupted with a new holographic display, showing a star map of the galaxy. Red markers began appearing, spreading across the map like a viral infection. Each point corresponded to a date, forming a pattern that stretched across centuries. "These are temporal disturbance readings," Krax observed, his mandibles twitching with concern. "But they're not random. They're propagating, growing." A new recording started playing, this one showing multiple members of the original Avalon project. Weidling stood at their center, her expression grim. "If you're seeing this, the temporal markers we established have been confirmed. What we discovered, what we tried to prevent, is beginning again." The recording shifted to show something that made even the seasoned Coalition officers step back. A massive void in space, darker than the absence of light itself, consuming everything it touched. But it wasn't natural. The edges were too precise, too engineered. "We called them the Void Architects," Weiling's voice continued. "They exist outside normal spacetime, building vast machines that consume reality itself to fuel their expansion. We first detected their influence when quantum rifts began appearing throughout the galaxy. By the time we understood what we were seeing, it was almost too late." Admiral Voss leaned forward, his augmented vision analyzing every detail of the recording. "How did humanity stop them?" "We didn't," Weiling answered, as if anticipating the question. "We couldn't. Their technology, their very existence, operated on principles we barely understood. What we could do was buy time. The Avalon project wasn't just about building a weapon, it was about preserving hope. We encoded everything we learned about them into this ship's systems, then sent it forward to a point in time when the galaxy would be ready." Sarah's hands trembled as she accessed another data stream. "According to these calculations, the Void Architects work in cycles. They seed a galaxy with their technology, let civilizations advance to a certain point, then harvest everything for their own expansion. The quantum rifts we're detecting now, they're identical to the ones that appeared before their last attempt." "How long?" Admiral Voss demanded. More data cascaded across the screens as the Avalon's AI processed centuries of astronomical observations. Based on current projections, Sarah answered, her voice tight. "We have less than 6 months before their harvest begins." The command center erupted in urgent discussions, each species expressing alarm in their own way. But Sarah's attention was drawn to another message, this one encoded specifically for her genetic signature. Sarah, her great-grandmother's image spoke, now in a private channel. "If you're seeing this, you've inherited more than just our blood. You've inherited our responsibility. The Avalon isn't just a warship, it's a key. The quantum core, the temporal drives, the reality-shaping weapons, they're all pieces of a larger design. We couldn't defeat the Void Architects in direct combat, but we could learn from them. Everything this ship can do is based on their own technology, reversed engineered from the fragments we discovered." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. "They built this ship to fight fire with fire," she whispered. "Not just to fight." Admiral Voss corrected, his cybernetic enhancements picking up the private message. "To win. Your ancestors didn't just give us a weapon. They gave us understanding. Knowledge that could change everything we thought we knew about physics, about reality itself." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. The star map zoomed in on a sector near the galactic core, where a massive quantum disturbance was forming. The void that appeared was exactly like the one from the historical records, a perfect engineered darkness that denied the existence of light itself. "Multiple quantum rifts detected," the Avalon's AI announced. "Pattern matches historical data. They're coming." Sarah stood, facing the assembled coalition representatives. "We need to bring this to the Coalition Council immediately. Every species, every world needs to understand what we're facing. The Void Architects aren't just coming for humanity. They're coming for all of us." As if responding to her words, the Avalon's systems continued to power up, ancient weapons charging with energy that defied modern physics. The ship had waited 3 centuries for this moment, preserved through time itself to face an enemy that threatened not just life, but reality itself. "Your great-grandmother left one more message," Admiral Voss said quietly, his augmented eyes scanning the final decrypted file. "She said, the galaxy must stand together, or it will fall alone. I think we're about to find out if we've learned enough in the last 300 years to prove her right." The Coalition Emergency Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from every member species packed the vast amphitheater, their attention fixed on the holographic display dominating the center of the room. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside Admiral Voss, facing the assembled leaders of galactic civilization. "The Void Architects aren't simply an invading force," Sarah explained, her voice carrying across the chamber. "They're reality engineers who view our universe as raw material for their expansion. Every star, every planet, every atom of matter, it's all just fuel for their machines." The holographic display showed the growing network of quantum rifts spreading across the galaxy. Each void was a perfect circle of engineered darkness, consuming everything it touched. The pattern was unmistakable. They were being surrounded. "How do we fight an enemy that exists outside normal spacetime?" demanded the Arxian High Commander, their crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "With their own weapons," Admiral Voss answered, triggering a new hologram. The Avalon appeared, its systems now fully awakened. The ship wasn't just preserved through time, it was transformed. Everything humanity learned about the Void Architects' technology was built into its systems, refined and improved over 3 centuries of quantum computation. Sarah accessed the Avalon's primary database, revealing schematics that made even the most advanced Coalition scientists murmur in amazement. The quantum core doesn't just power the ship, it can manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. The weapons aren't designed to destroy, but to rewrite the rules of reality within their target area. Suddenly, every display in the chamber flickered. The Avalon's AI had established a direct connection, and a new voice filled the room. Neither male nor female, neither human nor alien, but something entirely unique. "I am the culmination of Project Avalon," the AI announced. "For 300 years, I have processed data, refined calculations, and prepared for this moment. The Void Architects are not invincible. They are bound by laws we can understand and exploit. The holographic display transformed, showing simulations of the Avalon engaging the quantum rifts. The ship's weapons didn't fire conventional energy. Instead, they released waves of controlled reality distortion, forcing the artificial voids to collapse in on themselves. Your ancestors built this AI to be more than just a tactical system, Admiral Voss explained to the Council. It's a bridge between our understanding of physics and the Void Architect's technology. But to use it effectively, we need something unprecedented: complete unity among all coalition species. The chamber erupted in debate, each representative arguing for their species' interests. But Sarah noticed something in the Avalon's data streams that made her blood run cold. "We don't have time for debate," she interrupted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "The quantum rifts are accelerating. At their current rate of expansion, we have less than 72 hours before the harvest begins." The AI's voice returned, now tinged with urgency. The Avalon was designed to serve as a nexus point for a unified defense. Its systems can synchronize with coalition technology, upgrading your ships and stations with temporal shielding. But the power requirements are enormous. Every species must contribute resources, and every ship must follow a single strategic direction. "You're asking us to place the fate of our civilizations in the hands of a human warship?" the Arxian High Commander challenged. "No," Sarah replied, straightening to her full height. "We're asking you to trust in the vision of beings who sacrificed everything to give us this chance. My great-grandmother and her team could have used this technology to dominate their own time. Instead, they sent it to us, believing that our united civilization would be strong enough to face this threat." Admiral Voss stepped forward, his cybernetic eyes glowing with intensity. 3 centuries ago, humanity stood alone against the Void Architects and found a way to buy us time. Now we stand together, not as separate species, but as inheritors of a galaxy worth defending. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. On the main display, another quantum rift blossomed into existence, its perfect darkness consuming a distant star system. The Avalon's AI projected a countdown, less than 70 hours until the point of no return. "The ship's systems are ready," the AI announced. "The quantum core is charged. The temporal weapons are primed. All that remains is your decision. Will you stand together, or will you fall alone?" Sarah watched the council members exchange glances, each wrestling with centuries of ingrained suspicion and political maneuvering. But as another star winked out of existence on the display, she saw something else in their expressions: recognition of a truth that transcended species and politics. The galaxy was about to change forever. The only question was whether they would face that change united or divided. Space itself seemed to shudder as the combined fleet of coalition warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. At their center, the Avalon hung like a dark star, its hull rippling with temporal energies. On its bridge, Dr. Sarah Chen watched as thousands of ships from every coalition species moved into formation around them. "Quantum rifts expanding," the Avalon's AI reported. "Multiple Void Architect constructs detected. They're beginning the harvest sequence." The view ahead confirmed humanity's worst fears from 3 centuries ago. Massive structures of impossible geometry emerged from the quantum rifts, their surfaces darker than the void itself. Reality buckled around them as they began their devastating work. "All ships, activate temporal shielding," Admiral Voss commanded from his position beside Sarah. The Avalon's quantum core pulsed, sending waves of protective energy through the fleet. Ships of every design and origin began to glow with the same otherworldly light as the human supercarrier. "The Void Architects are responding," Krax reported from his engineering station, his mandibles clicking rapidly. They're attempting to communicate." The main view screen filled with patterns of pure mathematics, equations that described reality itself. The Avalon's AI translated, "Your resistance is an anomaly. This harvest was calculated before your species evolved. Submit to conversion. Sarah's hands tightened on the control console. Send our response. The Avalon transmitted a reply using the same mathematical language, but altered, improved. 3 centuries of quantum computation had refined humanity's understanding of the Void Architect's own physics. The message was clear. This galaxy would not submit. Multiple hostile constructs approaching, Tactical announced. They're attempting to establish reality negation fields. Now we show them what humanity and the Coalition built together, Admiral Voss declared. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. The Avalon will take point. The massive human warship surged forward, its temporal weapons charging. Behind it, the Coalition fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their systems linked through the Avalon's quantum network. As the first wave of void constructs attacked, reality itself became a battlefield. The Avalon's main guns fired, not with energy or matter, but with concentrated waves of temporal distortion. Where they struck, the Void Architect's technology began to fail, their carefully engineered darkness collapsing in on itself. Coalition ships followed in the wake of each shot, their weapons enhanced by the Avalon's systems to strike at the very foundations of the enemy's existence. They're adapting, Carax warned as new patterns emerged in the void constructs. Their computational capacity is beyond anything we predicted, but not beyond what we prepared for. Sarah responded, activating the final sequence her great-grandmother had encoded into the ship's systems. Initiate Protocol Omega. All ships, stand ready. The Avalon's quantum core began to pulse with increasing intensity. Energy readings exceeded anything ever recorded in Coalition history. But this wasn't just power. It was purpose, the culmination of 3 centuries of preparation. To all ships, Sarah broadcast, what you're about to witness was the true purpose of Project Avalon. The weapons, the temporal shields, they were never meant to just fight the Void Architects. They were meant to change the rules of the game itself. The Supercarrier's hull began to transform, patterns of light and darkness flowing like liquid metal. The quantum core wasn't just powering weapons anymore. It was rewriting local physics, creating a bubble of altered reality where the Void Architect's technology couldn't function. New signal detected, the AI announced. For the first time, there was something like emotion in its voice. The Void Architects are experiencing confusion. Their fundamental assumptions about reality are being challenged. More Coalition ships pressed the attack, their weapons now guided by the Avalon's revolutionary physics. Where before they had fought against the tide of darkness, now they shaped reality itself, forcing the void constructs to exist in a universe that denied their basic principles. The Void Architect's response was immediate and devastating. Their constructs began to merge, forming a singularity of engineered darkness that threatened to consume everything. But as it grew, something unexpected happened. The altered physics spreading from the Avalon began to infect their technology, forcing it to operate under new rules. Rules written by humanity and refined by 3 centuries of preparation. They're trying to retreat, Carax reported with astonishment. The quantum rifts are beginning to collapse. Sarah watched as the massive void constructs began to fail, their perfect geometry corrupted by the new physics propagating through space. They didn't understand, she said softly. They thought they were the only ones who could rewrite reality. But humanity dreamed bigger. We didn't just learn their physics. We transcended it. The battle reached its crescendo as the last void constructs vanished, their quantum rifts sealing behind them. In their wake, they left a changed galaxy. The Coalition fleet hung in space around the Avalon, their ships still glowing with temporal energy. Signal from Coalition Command, the AI announced. The quantum rifts are closing across all sectors. The Void Architect's harvest has been terminated. Admiral Voss turned to Sarah, his cybernetic eyes glowing with newfound respect. Your ancestors didn't just give us a weapon. They gave us evolution. The Avalon wasn't designed to destroy the Void Architects. It was designed to force the galaxy to grow beyond them. As the Coalition fleet began to stand down from battle stations, Sarah accessed one final message from her great-grandmother. Y Ling's image appeared, smiling with pride across 3 centuries. If you're seeing this, you've done what we could not. You've united the galaxy, not just in defense, but in advancement. The Avalon was always more than a ship. It was a seed, planted in time, waiting for the right moment to help life itself take its next great leap forward. The future is yours now. Make it worthy of the sacrifice that brought us here. Sarah looked out at the assembled fleet, at the representatives of a dozen species who had put aside their differences to face extinction together. They had done more than survive. They had transformed, becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. The Avalon hung in space, its mission finally complete. But as its quantum core continued to pulse with new possibilities, Sarah knew this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Humanity had given the galaxy a gift, not just survival, but transcendence. The real question now was, what would they do with it?